So now the screen is up.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay.
No, this is.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, the screen is up. You can select.
Yes, okay, fine. Welcome back. We are continuing with the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9. So today we will continue from verse number 3. So in the first two verses, Krishna speaks about the Guhyatamam, the most confidential knowledge, and he sets the qualification to hear the confidential knowledge. Anasuyave, one should not be envious, and Krishna wants to reveal about the glories of devotional service. And also we saw how this devotional service is the topmost knowledge. Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, the topmost secret as well. Pavitram is the purest. Uttamam, the topmost. Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmyam. You can, by the practice of this devotional service, you can see for yourself, you can experience the bliss of the practice of the devotional service. Dharmyam, the topmost religion, which actually the topmost religion means that which gives us love of God. That is the topmost religion. Dharmyam, susukam kartam avya, very happily performed, and it is everlasting. Now, the acharyas are raising a question here. They say, well, if this dharma is so easy to execute, so Krishna says that it is very easily practiced and it's very happily practiced. If this dharma is so easy to execute, who will remain in this world? That means that he says everybody should go back to God. What's the problem? Where is the problem? And Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu says, but if the process is so easy to follow, then no one would remain in the material world. So now Krishna answers, but that's not the case. What is the case? So Krishna answers. Text 3. Ashraddhana purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapya mam nivartante mrityu samsara vartmani. Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore, they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. So, this is an important verse which gives us the clear direction or the clear answer. Sometimes when we are surprised why it is so. There are some people who come to Krishna consciousness, take up the process of devotion, and then for some time they practice, and then they are not to be seen at all. They are absconding. So what's the reason? So here we find the reason. Krishna is very clearly pointing out that their faith is not proper. They are not faithful actually. That's the whole point. They are motivated. When someone is motivated, then he will not be able to. Once his motivation is satisfied, in illusion he thinks that anything other than trying to please Krishna, it's all imagination. It's all imaginary, illusory happiness. So real happiness one derives by pleasing Krishna. So when one develops sufficient faith, then he continues to engage in the devotional service of the Lord. So this is the point. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he clearly explains how this faith is developed, how one develops this faith, and very systematically is presenting it. So let's see. The faithless cannot accomplish this process of devotional service. That is the purport of this verse. Faith is created by association with devotees. Unfortunate people, even after hearing all the evidence of Vedic literature from great personalities, still have no faith in God. They are hesitant and cannot stay fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. Thus, faith is an important factor for progress in Krishna consciousness. So, everything begins with faith, isn't it? Unless we are convinced of the process of Krishna consciousness, unless we understand that this is the topmost knowledge, my eternal position in this material world is to remain a servant of Krishna, We have to engage in Krishna's devotional service. Unless we understand this, we will not be able to continue in the process of Krishna consciousness. So, how this faith is, in the first instance, one gets this faith, how it is developed. So, the scriptures also explains about Ajnata Sukriti. Ajnata Sukriti is, even without our knowledge, we get certain benefits by, let's say, by without our knowledge, circumambulating a Vishnu temple, reciprocating to a devotee may come and then meet us, we just wish him, try to help him. So like that, there are so many ways a person gets Ajnata Sukriti. Without our knowledge, when we do something favorable in relation with Vishnu or Vishnu's devotee, we in bits and pieces we develop some Sukriti, and when that Sukriti becomes sufficient for a considerable amount, it sums up to a considerable amount, then that becomes a faith. So then that becomes a beginning. That is the beginning of the faith. So then with that faith, so we just heard Srila Prabhupada pointing out at the end of one of the purports in the 4th chapter, very clearly he is quoting this verse, Adho Shraddha Tatat Sadhu Sangha. Everything begins with faith. So the Komal Shraddha, so just faith in the budding stage. So from that everything begins, and then gradually by the association of devotees, the faith builds up. So Srila Prabhupada here is pointing out, he is defining the faith. It's a very famous verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The Prabhupada is calling faith is the complete conviction that simply by serving the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, one can achieve all perfection. That is called real faith. Shraddha, Shabde, Vishwasha kahe, Shudrida Nischay. Krishna Bhakti kaile, Sarva Karma Krita hai. This is the whole point, that one has got complete faith that I do not need to do anything in life. Simply I have to engage in Krishna's service. I don't have to please the demigods, I don't have to please the rishis, I don't have to please the forefathers, I don't have to please my relatives. I am meant to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And simply by doing that, everyone else is pleased, everything else is accomplished. For someone to have this conviction, one needs to have deep faith. This is the definition given in the Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is quoting. So how one gets this deep faith? By the mercy of the pure devotees. This is all the faith, one builds up the faith. So Prabhupada immediately refers to this verse from the Bhagavatam, Yata taror mula nishechanena tripyanti tatskanda bhujopashakaha pranopahara chayatendriyanam tataiva sarvarhanam achyutejya. So Srila Prabhupada points out that one need not have to do please anyone else. Simply please Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and everyone else is pleased. When you water the root of the tree, the leaves, the twigs, the branches, the fruits, the flowers, everything gets nourished. And another example also here in the Bhagavatam, it says that if you want to be free from hunger, you just have to feed the stomach to the mouth. But don't try to put the food in the ear, don't try to put the food in the eyes. It will only create pain. So if you just properly put the food in the mouth, and then through the mouth the food goes to the stomach, and the belly is full, then you get energy throughout the body. So similarly, Krishna, when he is pleased, then everyone else is pleased. Yasmin tushte jagat tushte. Krishna is pleased, the whole world is pleased. So this is the point here. Srila Prabhupada is specifically. So for one to get this faith that I simply need to please Krishna, and that takes bahunam janmanam ante. Not so easy, but that one gets it by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. Then Srila Prabhupada goes on to explain. Therefore, after reading Bhagavad Gita, one should promptly come to the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. One should give up all other engagements and adopt the service of the Supreme Lord, Krishna, the Personality of Godhead. If one is convinced of this philosophy of life That is faith. This is an amazing point. Prabhupada here is presenting to us. So this is faith, Bhagavad Gita, we have Bhagavad Gita, we have read Bhagavad Gita. So what are you doing, sir? Watching cricket, watching, going to cinema, playing sports, reading newspapers, just doing the same old thing, drinking coffee, drinking tea, and doing all kinds of nonsense activities. I've read Bhagavad Gita, I know Bhagavad Gita, everything I know. My grandfather has got 4 Bhagavad Gitas in our house. Okay, sir, what do you have understood by reading Bhagavad Gita? Here Prabhupada points out that the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is to very clearly understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are His eternal servants. We are meant to please Krishna. If you have not come to this conclusion by reading Bhagavad Gita, so what is the conclusion that we can come to? We can understand that either you have not read Bhagavad Gita as it is, or you have not practiced what you have read in the Bhagavad Gita. You have not associated with those persons who have imbibed this Bhagavad Gita. This is the point. We can very clearly come to this conclusion. So there is a problem. There is a problem. Humble request, Prabhu, please don't keep the Bhagavad Gita down. You can just keep it a little bit raised. It should always be above our, little raised. It should not be down. Yeah, thank you. So, yes. So the point is that Bhagavad Gita, by reading Bhagavad Gita, one should give up all other engagements and surrender his life in the service of Krishna. So that's why there is a big problem. So many people have given commentaries to Bhagavad Gita. There are so many so-called scholars, big gurus, but they all try to use Bhagavad Gita to convey their own concocted and speculative philosophy through the Bhagavad Gita. That's why Srila Prabhupada used to be furious. You want to speak some nonsense, you speak nonsense. But why do you use Bhagavad Gita to speak the nonsense? Right? This is the problem. So we can see, so this faith, anybody can have this faith, deep faith. It comes by association with pure devotees. So we can see in the life of, we heard from, about Parashara Bhatta. In his life history, we can see there is an amazing incident that took place. Parashara Bhatta was a very great devotee and a great servant of Lord Ramanujacharya, very much well versed in the scriptures, and he has a very sound philosophical understanding, and is a great devotee of the Lord. Moreover, that he's a great devotee of the Lord. So he used to give a lot of lectures. He used to train his disciples and like that. So he was like that every day. He used to give lectures, and then there was a great Chaturvedi who was attending the program. He was coming for the classes and hearing. And there was also one very poor person from a very poor background, economically very poor, very lean, not so knowledgeable. He has not much education. He also used to come and attend. So every day he will continue with his classes and like that. Then, but after the classes, he always used to properly used to go accompany this poor, economically poor, and he used to send him off properly, be very respectful with this person. On the other hand, with this Chaturvedi, who was studied Vedas and all, he was not giving so much importance to him. He was kind of ignoring him. So it was going on for quite some time like this. One day, these disciples were a little surprised. They were just wondering. Even Chanakya says that a person who is well versed in the scriptures, the whole world, sarvatra pujyate, it is said. When a person who is well studied, well versed in the scriptures, vidwan sarvatra pujyate, is well appreciated and glorified. But dear master, we are not able to understand you are not giving any importance to this person. It's a little bewildering for us. So Parashara Bhatta, he said that please wait for some time, you will understand. So as usual, the classes were going on. He used to come. The same thing Parashara Bhatta was doing. One day, what happened? This Chaturvedi came a little early for the class. So Parashara Bhatta asked him a question. So can you tell what is Brahman? So then this Chaturvedi started giving explanation. He said that according to this commentator, Brahman means this. According to this commentator, Brahman means this. So according to this philosophy, Brahman means this, this, this. So like that he was presenting so from various angles, so many presentations he made. And he gave all those presentations and then Parashara said, okay, thank you. So he went. Then this poor person came, this economically poor person, he also came. Then he asked that, what is Brahman? So he was quite surprised when he heard this question. What is Brahman? You're asking me this question, what is Brahman? I'm so surprised. It's so clear, so self-evident. Narayana is that absolute truth. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything is emanating from Him. I'm very surprised that you are asking me this question. I was coming for your classes and with great hope, but what am I going to hear from you if you are not very clear with this? So he was very disappointed with that and then he left the place. All the disciples saw this and then they were completely stunned. They understood. They got the message. So this is the point, So the point is that irrespective of whatever may be your background, whatever may be your caste, creed, birth, doesn't matter. One should have a firm conviction that the Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are His eternal servants. So one may be very well, you may have so much knowledge, you might have studied many things, but maybe you don't have the faith that Krishna is that Supreme Person. And like we have one famous politician, well, we can call him politician, social reformer, father of the nation, so many words we can call, but he never had faith that Krishna is a person. So they call him Mahatma, but he said he was almost, he said that he's an imaginary, there is nothing like Krishna, it's a person, but Krishna is a person. The entire scriptures are very clearly, he's a supreme reality, absolute truth. So this is the point, that's why you can see sometimes, why Srila Prabhupada is so much emphasizing this point. We have to hear in Parampara, we have to hear from people who are with that full faith. That is the definition of Uttama Adhikari, right? A person who has got complete faith. He is philosophically, he is well read, he knows the conclusions of the scriptures, and his faith is also very deep. This is the point. So we can also see in the Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he used to speak about Srila Gaur Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj. He used to say that all the truths of the Vedas reside in one dust particle of my Gurudev, he used to say. So that was Gaur Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj was pure devotee of the Lord. He knew the essence of all the Vedas. So the truth is revealed to such pure personality. So it's so important that we need to understand this. If we don't, this is the whole point. We hear from pure devotees, we try to assimilate the knowledge that we derive from them and then put it in practice. We have to jnana vijnana sahitam. Then we get realization. Otherwise, everything just remains a theoretical knowledge. Nothing gets activated. This is the point. We may study so many things. We may be able to quote so many verses. We may be able to interact with so many persons in a very intellectual way. But the revelation will not happen unless we get the mercy of the spiritual master. A bona fide guru, unless he gives his mercy, when he is pleased with our sincere service, then the knowledge within the heart will be activated. Sometimes we have, just to give a mundane example, we know somebody has got a very nice smartphone, excellent SIM card, very good connection, but it has to be activated, sir. For you to call someone and speak to someone, the number has to be activated. Otherwise, nothing works. You may just have fun with your phone, that's all. You cannot speak to the other person. Similarly, we may study the scriptures, we may write exam, we may do Bhakti-śāstra course, so many things, but if we don't have faith that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, engaging in his devotional service is the perfection of life. In that way, the previous acharyas are pleased. All the services for Krishna are all in absolute platform. So this has to be understood. Not that one person says that these are menial services. I don't want to do this. I'm in a different category. What is a menial service? What is a great service? When we just see everything is on the absolute platform. Somebody is cleaning the floor. Someone is building the temple. Someone is doing puja. Someone is leading kirtan. Someone is cleaning the bathrooms and the toilets. Everything, when it is done for the pleasure of the Lord, it is all on the absolute platform. It is all purifying. It is all pleasing for Krishna. So So this knowledge is revealed to a person who sincerely submits himself to a bona fide spiritual master and follows the instruction that he gives and puts it in practice, and with faith goes on with the service, simultaneously hearing the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam and applying it in one's life. So that's why Srila Prabhupada says that it's a very systematic and scientific process. That's how it works. So this is an important philosophical point to be understood. Srila Prabhupada also, remember, he quotes the example of the faith. Anybody remembers a very famous, often Srila Prabhupada quotes in many books regarding the faith. Prabhupada quotes, he gives a small story about Narada Muni with cobbler and the faith, cobbler and the Brahmana. I'm not going to elaborate that, just to recollect. We can like that keep quoting so many stories. But what is the essential point from that? The Brahmana, who was well versed doing puja right in front of the deities, he never had faith that the Lord could pierce an elephant through the hole of the tip of the hole in the tip of the needle. The elephant can be pierced. He says, how is it possible? And what is this? It doesn't make any sense. It's not logical. This is what he was speaking. But then the cobbler had so much faith. My Lord, he could do. He was just jumping in ecstasy. Amazing. My Lord can do that. Hey, Narada is asking, how do you say the Lord could do it? What is the problem for my Lord? He could, the big banyan tree, he could keep it so many, from the small seed, so many trees are coming up. What is the big thing for him to push the elephant through the eye of a needle? So there is no difficulty for him. This was his faith. You see, so this is so important. And this faith one gets by the mercy of the pure devotee. So now this is the whole point. When this faith is not there in the devotee, so we come to the process of Krishna consciousness. We all have hidden motives. And when we don't hear properly, so that's why it's so important, Shravanam and Kirtanam. Both are important. Shravanam is the heart of Kirtan. How many times we have heard this? So otherwise what happens? Everything becomes for our own enjoyment. Kirtan is for our enjoyment, bhajan is for our enjoyment, doing service is for our enjoyment. Then we will not be able to see the power of devotional service. We will not be able to understand that we are meant to please Krishna. This point will not be clear, then our faith will not build up. So that's why we need to associate the devotees who have this faith. So regularly hearing, regularly serving, then our ignorance, we are covered by the ignorance will be removed and we will be in proper perspective. So that's why we see, we had the nectar of instruction classes. Sri Rupa Goswami is pointing about the gradations of devotees based on faith. Srimad Bhagavatam is very clearly defining about who is a Kanishta, who is a Madhyama, who is a Uttama, based on faith and knowledge. Both are required. Well, also it is there. Somebody may not be so much well versed in scriptures, but his faith can be tremendously deep. So the faith can be so deep. Very rare cases. So this is this has to be understood. So Srila Prabhupada continues to explain the purport about the third class devotee, about second class devotee, and about the first class devotee. Okay. So Srila Prabhupada is pointing out immediately in this purport. We have practical experience in discharging our missionary activity that some people come and apply themselves to Krishna consciousness with some hidden motive. And as soon as they are economically a little well situated, they give up the process and take to their old ways again. Isn't it? Someone comes very regularly, is very intensely praying to the deities, and then he comes for 6 months and then after that he is not to be seen. What happened? So I got a lottery and then got 1 lakh. After that, he is not to be seen at all. His devotion, my desire is satisfied, everything, I'll fulfill my desire, and then it's lost. So like that, everybody has got some motive, somebody wants some job. So one person was asking, sir, ISKCON has branches in 165 countries. Can I get opportunity to go abroad? We don't join ISKCON for that, to get abroad opportunities. We are all in an alien nation. This place is not our place. We go to any place, Australia, Japan, USA, Norway, whatever, it's all, Karupur actually. It's all Karupur. It's all dark place. Karupur in Tamil means it's a dark place. Dark place. The place is dark where there is no worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed. It's a dark place. This material world itself is dark. We need sun to lighten it up. So this is the point. So this is what Srila Prabhupada is pointing out. So he goes on to explain here about the first class, second class, and third class devotee. So Kanishta, already discussed. So he has a Komal Shraddha, faith, everything is doubting. We may say some philosophical point here. He will say yes, correct. And then he will go and then meet his friends, and then friends will say, why Krishna is in the center? Why he is dancing with all the gopis? Correct, no? Why he is dancing with all the gopis? Why not? Then he will come back here, and then he says, then the devotee will start philosophically explain, no, Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the cause of all the causes. Everyone is meant for his enjoyment. Correct. Yeah, this seems very convincing. And then again he will go. then the atheists and others will start to give another counter argument, and then he will again get confused. And again he will come here. So it's like football, One fellow gives a kick here, and then the ball goes to the other side. Another fellow gives another kick. So this is how the neophyte is. He's always completely confused because he has not sufficiently heard. He has not whatever that he has heard. Also, he has not put into practice. So the faith is very weak. But what the scriptures are suggesting is continue. You continue to hear, continue to serve. Then, by the association of the devotees, by reading the bona fide books written by the pure devotees and hearing and then engaging in service, then purification of heart happens. When the heart is more and more purified, then what happens? Then everything becomes crystal clear. So that's the most important point. The more the energy that we invest in anything, even in this material world also it is like that, right? The more you associate with someone, the more you associate and you spend time, the more you gain. So similarly, the more we associate with the pure devotees of the Lord, the more we with great sincerity and seriousness practice the instructions given by them, engage in the service of the Lord, then there is reciprocation. The Lord immediately looks at the sincerity of the devotee and then he helps the devotee. So this is the point. Unless we do this, then we will always remain in the beginning stage of devotional service. We will never be able to make progress. So Shraddha, then from Shraddha there is by the Sadhu Sangha, then there is Bhajana Kriya, one engages in service. Then in the Bhajana Kriya there are two stages. One is Anishta Bhajana Kriya, and then later he becomes fixed in devotional. Most of us, we are in the stage of Anishta Bhajana Kriya. One day we are super enthusiastic to come for the class. One day we are super enthusiastic to come for Mangalarati, and then I came for Mangalarati for 2 days. Let me take a break. And one day we are super enthusiastic to do service, another day no enthusiasm. So this is called as the Anishta Bhajana Kriya because of the lack of Sambandha Jnana. If we know what is Krishna's position, what is our position, we will be so serious. Just imagine somebody has given us one big box of golden coins. We need to carry this from here to Delhi. So how careful we will be. Someone will say, sir, I will help you. It's quite heavy. I will help you carry it. No problem. I will manage. Because we know what is the value that is there. But the holy name and the Lord's Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela, that is the greatest asset. And that since we are, as the scriptures explain, why we are in a disease condition. Because we are in a disease condition, we are not able to appreciate the power of devotional service. So that's why we need to hear more, we need to serve more. Okay, that's the point. So now this faith is very strong in the case of a Madhyama Adhikari. He may be defeated in arguments also. He may not be so well versed in the scriptures, but his faith is unshakable. He is fully convinced that Krishna is Supreme Personality of God and we are his eternal servants. We need to engage in devotional service. Completely, he's fixed up. But then with the pure devotee, his faith is also totally strong and he is very well versed in the scriptures. He knows the conclusions of the Vedas. So now Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that who will fall down? He says that the third class person in Krishna consciousness may fall down, but when one is in the second class, he does not fall down. And for the first class person in Krishna consciousness, there is no chance of falling down. So this is the point. So Srila Prabhupada, once a famous anecdote, Srila Prabhupada once was offering his prayers, I think to Radha Gokulananda. So one devotee was a little bold enough to go and then ask Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, what are you praying? So Srila Prabhupada said that I am praying to the Lordships that I should never fall down. Then there was another instance when Srila Prabhupada met few devotees he said that I will never fall down, but you may fall down, he said. Then this devotee was a little bewildered. Prabhupada, you said that you are praying to the deities that you will never fall down. Now again you speak that you will never fall down. How to understand this? Srila Prabhupada said that because I am praying that I should never fall down, I will never fall down. So what is the point? The point is that one who is a pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada is setting example. Where is the question of fall down for Srila Prabhupada? He was completely is completely absorbed in the internal energy of the Lord. There is Mahatmanas tamam partha daivi prakriti mashritaha bhajanti ananya manaso jnatva bhutadi bhavi. This is the position of the pure devotees. So now, so because he is thoroughly convinced, he has full faith. So now a devotee, he sets example also. So by showing to others that by offering our prayers, always depending on Krishna, always depending on devotees, we can be on the safe platform. So now Srila Prabhupada points out in this purport. Okay. As far as the third class person in Krishna consciousness is concerned, although he has faith in the conviction that devotional service to Krishna is very good, he has not yet gained adequate knowledge of Krishna through the scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes these third class persons in Krishna consciousness have some tendency toward Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Sometimes they are disturbed, but as soon as the infection of Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga is vanquished, they become second class or first class persons in Krishna consciousness. So that is why it's so important, there are few devotees who needs to be well versed in the scriptures. They should be able to counter-argue many misconceptions, false ideas imposed by so many mental speculators. Otherwise, what will happen if we are not thoroughly convinced in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness? We do not know what our acharyas have presented to us, how very clearly they have presented that pure devotional service is the topmost platform to be engaged in. We may be diverted. So that is the point. So that's what Srila Prabhupada is pointing out here. And Srila Prabhupada concludes the purport with the point of great definitions that is given in the Bhagavatam about in the 11th canto. There are definitions given about the Bhagavatam, which we have elaborately discussed before in the Nectar of Instruction and Ishopanishad classes as well. There are verses which deals with that. And again, this topic will be repeated when we study the Nectar of Devotion. Okay. So Srila Prabhupada here, he points out, it's a kind of a little, what to say, you become a little fearful, right, when what Krishna speaks here. No, you don't follow, you don't have faith in me. Mrityu samsara vartmani. You go, you just repeated birth and death, you suffer in this material world. That's what happens. Krishna very mercifully, he gives this knowledge. He himself descends, he sends his pure devotees. Still, someone is very stubborn. There's a stubbornness of jiva. Always he finds a way not to surrender to Krishna. So Krishna says, no problem, you continue in this material world. So Srila Prabhupada concludes the purport. Those who have no faith, even after hearing about Krishna and the excellence of devotional service, who think that it is simply eulogy, find the path very difficult, even if they are supposedly engaged in devotional service. For them, there is very little hope of gaining perfection. So we need not be surprised when someone leaves the Krishna consciousness movement. That means what? His faith is not sufficiently built up. Because for whatever reason, he might have committed offenses against the holy name, he might have committed offenses against the devotees. He is not very, philosophically, he is not convinced that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is not convinced that pure devotion is the perfection of religion. So all these misconceptions may direct a person not to continue in this path of devotional service. So what is happening if we don't if we don't have the faith, if we don't take shelter of Krishna? Srila Prabhupada in one of the lectures is pointing out. So I'm being tossed. Don't identify. Don't try to solve the tossing. That is not possible. If you want to make solution of the tossing waves of the Atlantic Ocean, when you are fallen there, it is useless foolishness. That is not possible. Don't be foolish in that way. That will go on. That is Atlantic Ocean's nature. You cannot stop it. You have to get out of it. The foolish people, they are trying to adjust this world and be happy. That is not. That is a first-class foolishness. This is the point. We take shelter of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, not by our own way. There's ascending process. Try to analyze, try try to figure out and try to find solution for all the problems of life by our own methodology. It is not possible. Better to take shelter of Supreme Lord and His instructions, which are the Vedas, and instructions coming through the pure devotees. Okay, now we are going to see the series of verses where Krishna is going to speak about His opulence, which will enhance our faith, which will make us come closer to Krishna. And Srila Vishma Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out that in 7 verses the Lord speaks of the knowledge of the powers of God required by devotees who are situated in Dasya Bhakti. The Lord then speaks of His remarkable powers which stimulate devotion to Him. So here Baladevi Devbhushan Prabhu is also pointing out that by hearing about how Lord maintains, how Lord is creating, how Lord is also annihilating this universe, how He is doing it simply by His will, how He is doing it through His energies. By getting to know this knowledge, you will be able to appreciate the Lord's position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How everything is completely under His control, we will understand. Okay. Text 4. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina matstani sarva bhutani nachaham teshvavastitah. By me, in my unmanifested form, this universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Now here, Krishna is unfolding the mystery of how the Lord is everywhere. So he says that He is spread everywhere, avyakta murtina, in His unmanifested form. In His unmanifested form, here we have to understand that we being conditioned, we are not able to see the Lord. Lord is everywhere. The Lord is present everywhere, in every atom the Lord is present. But we are not able to see Him because of our conditioning. Okay. Now immediately Srila Prabhupada, in the beginning of the purport, make this point. He is explaining the principle of the Lord's revelation. To whom the Lord reveals Himself. Not to anyone. The Lord reveals Himself. He chooses to whom He reveals. So already we discussed. In the 7th chapter Krishna says, right, that Naham Prakar Sarvasya Yogamaya Samavruta. He covers Himself from non-devotees. He shows Himself only to His devotees. Now the process by which we can see Krishna is revealed here. How we can see Krishna? Why I am not able to know? That's why when somebody argues, somebody comes and then in a very puffed up way, they say that, show me God. What is that you want me to show God? He's not even to see the Prime Minister, or forget about the Prime Minister, the director of a company or the Chief Minister, you need to be qualified. Who are you to see him? What is your qualification? You need to get an appointment, you need to have a proper justification to see him. So to see the Supreme Lord is not so easy. It is easy, simultaneously it is very difficult. It is easy for those who have hearts are simple, who have faith, it is very easy. For those who are very complex, whose hearts are very complicated, they don't have faith, they question, their attitude is not proper, the Lord is not going to reveal Himself to them. So immediately Srila Prabhupada is pointing out in this purport, Atashri Krishna Namadi na bhave grahyam indriyai sevon mukhehi jigvado swayam eva spuratyadaha. It's a very important verse from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu to be learned. We need to memorize this verse. We should also not only memorize it, we should understand the import of this verse. Sevon mukha. So this is a key point, Unless we become sevon mukha, we cannot come closer to the Supreme Lord. So how this sevon mukha begins? It begins with the tongue. When we chant the names of Krishna, when we honor Krishna's prasadam, we engage in His service, then the Lord reveals Tvayam eva spratyadaha. The Lord reveals Himself. Isn't it? So that's why Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur so many times he repeats this point. Don't try to see Krishna. You try to do service in such a way that the Lord sees you. The Lord will Himself reveal. He'll be pleased and He will show Himself to you. We have a very clear example from the Bhagavatam. Hiranyakashipu was so stubborn, such a demon. And he says, where is your Vishnu? Prahlad could see him everywhere. For Prahlad, he was visible everywhere. In every atom, he could see Krishna. But Hiranyakashipu could never see him. Even when the Lord manifested himself as Nrsingadev, he could not see. He never saw him as Vishnu. That is the stubborn nature of the jiva. So it's such an important principle here, the question of attitude, to mold our lives, to understand this principle that we are meant to serve the Lord. Okay. So here another point is given here, how Krishna can be seen. Eyes should be tainted with what? It should be tainted with love of God. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santas sadaiva hridayeshu. Santaha, the devotees, santas sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. The devotees always constantly think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, tinged with pure love. So to such a person, the Lord immediately reveals himself. Otherwise, you may do heavy tapasya, you may stand upside down, you may stand on one leg for millions of years, the Lord is not going to reveal himself. Not just by your austerity, it is not possible. By your swadhyaya, by intensely studying scriptures also, it is not possible. So what is the attitude you are having? Are you sevonmukha? That's the most important point here. Okay, so the Lord here, Srila Prabhupada points out that how the Lord, avyakta murtina, the Lord is present everywhere, is all pervading by his energies, he is spread everywhere. Now, in the 7th chapter, Krishna already explains about the inferior nature and the superior nature. We already discussed that. And here, also nice examples are given. Often there are certain examples are quoted in the scriptures. One example that here Srila Prabhupada is pointing out, just as the sunshine is spread all over the universe, the energy of the Lord is spread all over the creation. Everything is resting in that energy. So, the sun diffuses its energy and the sun remains. It's not that the sun is showing, from sun so much heat and light is coming and the sun is not lost. Again, the Mayavadi's idea is like that, right? That Brahman is split into all the chunks. Become the material world, the living beings, everything, and then you are that Brahman. They have this conception. But here the example is given of the sun and the sunshine. And what are the other examples that are given? There is an example given about, if you remember, in the chapter 7, text 7, I think, in the Matav Parataram Nanyat verse, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is quoting from the Upanishads. He is quoting this famous verse, Vedahametam Purusham Mahantam Aditya Varnam Tamasat Parastar Tameva Viditvati Mrityumeti Nanyaf Panta Vidyate Anaya. Then the second part of the verse, he just says, Yasmat Param Na Param Asti Kinchit. There is nothing superior to him. There is no one superior to him. Then he says, Yasma Naniyo Na Jayo Asti Kinchit. Then he is smaller than the smallest, he is bigger than the biggest. Then the Upanishad goes on to explain, Vriksha iva stabdho didishtat ekas tene purnam purushena sarvam. It is explained that he is like a silent tree, and then the roots he spreads his existence everywhere through his energies. That is explained. So how tree nourishes the from the tree you get leaves, fruits, everything. So tree remains. Now the tree is not lost. Then another example also we often hear about the touchstone, right? When with the touchstone you touch any other stone, it turns into gold. But the touchstone remains. It's not that it has lost its position. These are also all the examples that is given just to explain, because we can see immediately Prabhupada points out that the Lord doesn't lose his personal existence. The Lord has expanded himself into various energies. Through his diffusion of his energies, he is able to maintain, he is able to create, maintain, sustain everything. But not that the Lord is lost. Immediately the Mayavadis give this example of this paper. Take a paper and then you cut the paper into 10 pieces. That is the paper. Paper is lost. But sir, you do not know the transcendental math. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. The invocation of the Ishopanishad mantra, we discussed it, right? That everything, the Lord himself is Purnam, is absolute. And whatever manifested world that is here, that is also complete. And the expansions that is coming out from the Lord, that is also complete. So 1 minus 1 is still 1. Difficult to explain to the children, but it's very easy to understand. We understand this verse, Purnamata Purnamidam. all the emanations from the Lord. He is complete. Still the Lord remains the same personality. So Prabhupada here gives an analogy. For example, a king heads the government, which is but the manifestation of the king's energy. The different governmental departments are nothing but the energies of the king, and each department is resting on the king's power. So king is there are so many ministers, he just by his desire, he expresses his desire, then everything is done. Similarly, you see the prime minister is there, and there are so many other ministers, prime minister just gives order, everything is done. So, Prabhupada says that there is a crude example. So that's how, similarly, all the manifestations that we see and everything that exists, both in the material and the spiritual world, are resting on the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The creation takes place by the diffusion of his different energies. And as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Vishtabhyaham idam kritsnam. He is everywhere present by his personal representation, the diffusion of his different energies. So this is a very important philosophical point in our Sampradaya. The Vaishnava Siddhanta, this is specifically, what is this philosophy? It's called as the Shakti Parinamavad. So the Lord remains the same person, but by the diffusion of his energies, everything is happening. Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate Swabhaviki Jnana Bhala Kriyacha. He has unlimited energies, through the unlimited energies, the Lord could take care of the creation, maintenance and destruction of this universe. Nothing to worry. There is no deficiency in the Lord. The Lord could very clearly manage the creation, maintenance and destruction. So that is what is explained here. Okay. Okay, let us see the time. Okay, let's continue with the. Okay, we'll see Prabhupada's lecture. So here it is. In this vein, the Shruti says, Yah Prativyam Tishtat. He is situated in the earth. The Lord will say later in the Gita, Vishtabhyaham idam kritsnam. I pervade the whole universe. Akilam Jagat. Akilam means the whole universe, the whole manifestation. They are all simply manifestation of the Supreme Lord. The Lord says that one who believes Krishna as the Supreme Lord, then he will believe. He says, Matstani Sarva Bhutani. Just like in the sunshine, many planets, they are resting. It is a scientific fact. All the planets, they are rotating due to the sun heat. Here there is a machine, what is called, we have seen. As soon as there is heat within the ball begins to rotate. So everything resting. The weightlessness is due to the sunshine. Due to the sunshine, similarly, everything, the sun, the universe, everything is resting on Krishna shine, Prabhupada says. Krishna shine. That is the answer. How these so many worlds are floating in the air. Because they are under the Krishna's energy. They are floating in the Krishna's energy. Matstani sarva bhutani. Everything is resting on me. But don't think that I am finished because you cannot see there. I am here. Nachaham teshu avastitaha. It is not necessarily that we have to see everywhere. Atasya bhakti uditam adbhutam aishwaryam. Now this transcendental nature of God, all potential nature of God, to a devotee, it will give pleasure. And to a non-devotee, it will be seeming like, oh, so many bluff is being spoken by Krishna. So this is how a non-devotee looks at it, right? So whenever Prahlad was speaking, Hiranyakashipu could even digest it. It was, he became so angry hearing this thing. So Nrsimhadeva has to come. Okay, here Srila Prabhupada continues in another lecture. So this is the wonderful power, inconceivable power that is in everywhere. But still he is aloof. He is aloof from that place. We can feel his energy, but we cannot see because in this material eye, we cannot see. But when we develop our spiritual quality, we sanctify our senses. Then even when within his energy, we can see him. Take for example, just like electric power is transmitted everywhere. There is wiring. Now if some electrician is there, he can take electric power from anywhere and utilize the electricity. Similarly, his energy is spread all over the universe. When we are transcendentally situated, just like when we become the electrician, then from anywhere we can see God eye to eye. Nice example, no? Srila Prabhupada is giving a very good example that we could relate to. Okay, here is another example. Srila Prabhupada speaks about faith. So if we accept this, that whatever Krishna is saying, it is perfect. This is called Shraddha Dhana, faith. Without faith, you cannot make any progress. In every action, you must have faith. Just like if you go to a barber, you spread your neck like this and he is with a razor. He can immediately cut your throat. But because you have got faith, no, this barber is honest, he will not cut my throat. He will cleanly shave. So faith is required in every step. Without faith, you cannot make step. Simply you have to find out the person that he is worthy of keeping my faith. Here is Krishna. He is accepted, worthy of accepting his instructions. So take it very seriously. The Bhagavad Gita is there, then your life is successful. So this is the point. Otherwise, what happens if you are just hovering in the intellectual platform? It is like intellectual sense gratification. This intellectual sense gratification will lead only to pride. Krishna is so much, we will see in the 13th chapter, he speaks immediately when he speaks about knowledge. The very first two things he speaks. He says that amanitvam adhambitvam. So he says that one should develop humility and one should not be proud. So knowledge should lead to what? Humility. So what is that? It is said, vidya dadhati vinayam. By knowledge one should become humble. Not by knowledge one should become puffed up. That's why one of the definitions that is given for humility is that when one accepts the conclusions of the scriptures, he accepts the Vedas. Not that he just out of his own speculation, he just blabbers something or he comes up with a new philosophy. That's why we see philosophy without religion is mental speculation, isn't it? That's why here you can see Srila Prabhupada is pointing that one should have faith. That if we surrender to Krishna, Krishna will save us, Krishna will protect us. And so it's very clearly concluded. But for the one who does not have faith, he will just continue to do whatever he does. So if you see in the series of lecture, there's a nice question Prabhupada points out. When somebody is asking Srila Prabhupada, what does that surrender means? You are already surrendered, but you are surrendered to the police of God. Just like a citizen, he has to surrender. He has to surrender to the police or to the government. If he surrenders to the government, then he hasn't got to surrender to the police custody in jail. So instead of surrendering to Krishna, we have surrendered to his Maya, and this Maya is punishing us. Then Prabhupada goes on to quote Daivi Esha Gunamayi, and if you want to come out of this Maya, take shelter of Krishna. So now Srila Prabhupada again makes another interesting point here. He says in another lecture, so psychiatrists, generally their parents are crazy fellows. Generally they treat crazy fellows, is it not? No sane man goes to a psychiatrist. Is it not a fact? So all these crazy men sometimes make the psychiatrists crazy also. So more or less everyone is crazy. That is, it is not my layman's opinion. It is the opinion of a big medical surgeon. There was a case in the court, murder case. The murderer pleaded that I became crazy, mad at that time. That is generally. So the medical man was called to examine. He was a great civil surgeon in Calcutta. So he gave his opinion in the court that so far I have treated many patients. So my opinion is that everyone is more or less a madman. More or less. It is a question of degree. So our opinion is like that anyone who is not under the direct connection with God is a crazy man. He is a madman. Now you can treat. So we are also psychiatrists. We are pushing this Krishna consciousness. So because anyone who is in this material world, more or less crazy, madman, because he doesn't care for God, therefore he is crazy. He is completely under the control of God. But still, he has the audacity to say, no, I don't believe in God. Crazy man. So anyone who does not believe in God is a crazy fellow. You can treat him. Everyone is patient. So this is the point. We don't accept the Lord's inconceivable energy. We don't accept Lord's potency. And then we struggle in this material world. So there are so many quotes, but we don't have time. So I just continue. We'll go to the next verse. So now Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu is pointing out that so everything is resting on you. So he's asking, but it would be very tiring for you to carry such a heavy burden as the universe. He said that everything is resting on him. So how are you carrying, may the Lord? Is it not too heavy for you? Now Krishna is speaking. Text 5. Nachamatstani bhutani pashyame yogamaishwaram bhuta brunnacha bhutasto mamatma bhuta bhavanaha. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation, for myself is the very source of creation. Now we have a problem. Krishna is now contradicting what he spoke in the previous verse. Now he says that and everything that is created does not rest in me. Just now he said that everything is resting in me. See the problem. That is why some people don't accept. They are not able to understand. What is this? What is this contradiction? The Lord is contradicting himself. Behold my mystic opulence, although I am the maintainer of all living entities and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation. Now this is the special feature. The Lord, there is no contradiction. All the contradictions get resolved in the Supreme Lord. So now we can see in this section, in this 4 or 6 verses, we can see the philosophy of